Hey Boots, hey, it is your girl, the Rising Phoenix Empath, coming at you from Maryland, and I want to jump on real quick. And I wanted to give you guys a message today about Thanksgiving, which I myself am acknowledging as an Indigenous holiday, and remembering those who were displaced and murdered and dealt with brutally, and then had their land stolen. And it's an uncomfortable thing because we're all Americans, and well, the people in America, we are Americans, and we are living on this land, right? And we cannot change the past. We did not do it, and for the most part, most communities have not benefited from these horrible acts, and these horrible acts have been done to many indigenous cultures, many indigenous people. And when I say indigenous, I'm referring to those people of color throughout history, right? And there have been wars, and every culture has experienced war, but it's different, to be conquered and erased, and then for people not to acknowledge it, right? And so how do we right the wrong? And I did a video, some videos, my last 4 videos, I kind of touched on this thing. And for some people, and I am included, I don't feel like this is my right to wrong, as I myself am an indigenous person, maybe not indigenous from this land, but indigenous from a land, right? And so I wanted to come on today. For number one, I want to say happy. With all that said, if you can receive it, I wanted to say I pray that everybody's having a happy Thanksgiving, and that we can reframe this day. And I hope everybody's enjoying their families and enjoying the food. But I also pray and hope that Americans, across America, are remembering and acknowledging the pain of the indigenous American that was here prior to England's and Europe's colonization of this land. Okay? And I want to share a little story. And this is to say, I celebrate this because this, for me, is a family holiday, right? It's about family, but also in knowing the history. We weren't privy to history. We weren't privy to the internet. So there were things that we were not privy to as children that we have come into the knowledge of as adults. And so this, while it's still for me a family holiday, this is also a holiday where I acknowledge the indigenous American Indian, okay, where I acknowledge that this land was theirs, right? And let me say this, because in recent months and years, there's also been talks of Black people also being indigenous to the lands of the Americas. Now, I've been doing research on this subject, but I don't have enough research to where I can comfortably speak on this one way or another, so I won't. And I'm not going to pretend to know, right? But for now, and for what I do know, I'm going to acknowledge the indigenous people of the Americas and what you experienced. And I want to do a story time. I live in Maryland. As you know, that's how I open my videos. Hey Boos, hey, it is your girl, the Rising Phoenix Empath, coming at you from where? Maryland. So for those of you who follow me, you know I live in Maryland, and I don't live far. I'm sweating, guys, because I'm cooking. I don't live far from where I want to, the area I want to highlight today. As you know, I found out that the land that I live on, the city that I live in, was in fact indigenous land, named after a indigenous tribe that was displaced. And I have, for me, myself, I have given an offering to my land in remembrance of those people, in remembrance of what they have experienced, in remembrance, in solidarity, and in respect, in love, and in humility. I have given my offering and acknowledged this as being their land. Okay, acknowledge this, and that I own this land and I live here, but I acknowledge that this was their land first, and I have, and in even acknowledging the atrocities that have befell them. And the story I want to, and that's just something that I did, and it felt great to do that, right? And I know I can humble myself to do that, because as an African American living in America, you know, a lot of the injustices that have been done to us right on up to from the 70s, you know, up until now, you know, people don't want to acknowledge the Black pain, right? And that's fine. That's not what this video is about, but that is the spirit in which I can humble myself and acknowledge the pain of another culture of people that are indigenous also, and that really are distant cousins, in my opinion. Okay. Now, what I want to highlight is an area called Indian Head, Maryland. And for those of you who reside in Maryland, and for those of you who don't know, Indian Head, Maryland came to be because when settlers came to this area in Maryland, and they took the land, they killed the chiefs, and they killed people in high authority. They beheaded them. They put their heads on poles, and they lined those poles all up and down Indian Head Highway, known as 210, known as Indian Head Highway. Hence, the heads of men were put on poles to deter any indigenous people from even thinking about uprising against the colonization movement. Okay? So these people were murdered, killed, beheaded, and their heads put on poles and lined up to 10. Hence, today in 2023, we have the name of a street, Indian Head Highway, which to me, I mean, I've heard the highway. I've been a Maryland native all my life. I've heard of the road all my life. Never knew that this was the horrible history behind the name of the road until I started to do my research on the land and the area that I live in, and it wowed me. So I want to educate other people. I want to educate Marylanders to understand that Indian Head Highway literally meant the heads of Native American people put on poles to scare and intimidate other indigenous people from rising up. Okay? And I just wanted to give them respect, homage, to say that I see you, that I remember you, that I will never forget. There was a initiative a few years back to try and get the street, to get the highway Indian Head renamed, in which it fell through because the people that initially initiated the renaming of the highway did not include the indigenous people in the area, and so that was a problem. I do believe that the person who started this movement, who is a resident of my city, was in a good place, but I do believe that those indigenous people should be let in on this process. So I wanted just to educate you and to let you know where that name comes from. And as we celebrate with our families, I want us to love on our families and create beautiful memories, but I also want us to remember and give homage to those who have experienced such atrocities, the indigenous people specifically on this day who have experienced these atrocities and who have been uprooted and still to this day are fighting for retribution and to obtain and maintain lands that were taken from them. And so today I remember you and I love you, and as I eat with my family and as I say my prayers, I will say a prayer for you, for your spirits, for your souls, and for the land. And I pray that this community of people receive the redemption they've been trying to get. Until next time, family, this was just an educational video. Have a good one.